Hi, I'm looking at Jingle Bell Rock, the original by Bobby Helms. Not doing the intro, the lead part, because I've covered that in another video, so check that one out if you want to learn the intro lead. But today I'm just looking at the chords. It's quite an interesting chord sequence. I'm going to do this in two ways. So first of all, I'm going to show you the chord sequence for the song using bar chord shapes, or a lot of bar chords. If you're not at that stage, if you're playing where you're using bar chords, these shapes, then if you skip forward at the end of this video, or the second half of this video, I'm going to teach you the whole song again, but using simpler chord shapes. Okay, so this one is just with the more complicated ones. Right, so we've got a verse and a bridge section, and the verse starts off with a D chord. Now I'd probably use a bar chord at 5th fret. You could do that, or you could do the sort of the other version a lot of people use, where you flatten this third finger down and then try to avoid the first string. So that's 5, 7, 7, 7, middle 4 strings. And there's a D major 7 sort of hinted at. I'm not sure if the actual chord does change here, but it kind of sounds quite good if you put this in. So D major 7 is this. So it's not playing the E string, low E string. We've got 5, 7, 6, 7, 5. 2 beats on each. The best way to strum that is maybe down, up, down. So it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The next bar is just D. Doesn't change to the major 7. Then the next bar is D again for half a bar, and then we go to an E flat diminished. That's like this. Do the D. So E flat diminished. I'm barring across the 5th fret from the 5th string, and then it's a bit like if you know D7. It's a D7 chord with the bass note moved up to an E flat. So I've got 6, 7, 5, 7, 5. Then we go to an E minor 7 for half a bar, which is a bar across 5 strings at the 7th fret, and then second finger on the 8 on the 2nd string, third finger on the 9 on the 4th string. So that's 7, 9, 7, 8, 7. Then A7. A7 is similar shape to this. You do a bar all the way across 5th fret, and these fingers have all kind of moved upwards, so all the way across all of the strings. Second finger on the 6 on the 3rd string, third finger on the 7 on the 5th string. So I'm just going to play from the beginning up to there very slowly. And then we repeat the E minor 7 to A7 bar, repeat that twice more. And then there's 2 different endings that happen here. By the way, the chord chart for this is available. If you get in touch with me, I can send you the chord chart and the chord shapes and everything. So the first ending is we repeat the E minor 7 to the A7 again, but this time they're a whole bar each. And that's the first ending to this sequence. So I'm just going to play the whole of the verse sequence with the first ending. And then that repeats, but there's the second ending. Instead of the E minor 7 for a bar and the A7 for a bar, we play another E minor 7 to A7 for half a bar, and then a bar of D. So it's... So that's the verse. I'll just play the whole verse up to speed. And I was sticking strictly to that strum that I mentioned, down, up, down, down, up, down. But you could make it a lot looser than that. Doesn't really matter. You don't have to stick exactly to that. So that's the verse. Then we go to the, what I suppose is a bridge section really, maybe a chorus, but I think I'd probably call it a bridge. It goes to G6. So G6 is a bar chord. If you think of a G bar chord, you probably know there. Well, we need to put little finger on the second string at 5th fret. And with the third finger, it either needs to cover both of these notes, like this, or just the 5th string and touch the 4th string to mute it. Either of those is fine. So if I cover both with my finger for now, then I've got a bar all the way across. So I've got 3, 5, 5, or muted, 4, 5, 3. That's a G6. So we play a whole bar of that. Then another diminished chord. Well, we played E flat diminished there. This time we need A flat diminished. If you take the E flat diminished and move back one fret, if you know anything about music theory, you'll know that E flat diminished back one is a D diminished, because this is a diminished shape wherever you play it. If that's E flat, that must be D. But the strange thing about diminished chords and with this shape is that if I now move my first finger up so it's covering all of the strings and I include this string, that note is an A flat. This chord is now an A flat diminished. So A flat diminished and D diminished are the same thing. Now I'll do another video at some point on diminished chords. I maybe already have, but I'll do more. But don't worry about it for now, just accept that that's the easiest way to play this shape, because you've already used the E flat diminished. So we're using a very similar thing for A flat diminished. So we've got G6, A flat diminished for a bar, and then to the D for a bar, either as I was playing it earlier or the proper way like that. Then we've got a D6. Well, D6 is a D chord but with this note added. So the easiest way for me to do that now is just to flatten all the way across and play 5 strings. So from the D, D6. So that was G6, A flat diminished, D, D6. Then we go to E7 for 2 bars. Different ways you can play E7. Probably the one I would go for from this chord would be this. You may know that as a C7 shape, moved along. So I've got open E, and I've got 7, 6, 7, 5. The last string, the first string, you could play it open because that is an E note, but I don't like to. I think it sounds a little bit, it sort of rings too much, and if there's any tuning issues here, they have to be perfectly in tune to do this. So I just don't like that. I would always mute that first string. So I've got open, 7, 6, 7, 5, and then muted. There's 2 bars on that E7, and then we play an A bar chord, just standard A major, which is this shape you probably know, bar and across all the way. And then, so we've got 5, 7, 7, 6, 7, 7. And just play that once and stop. There's a little pause, and then there's the sort of bass rundown. So I'll just play that whole sequence for you. So after that, the bridge sort of sequence continues. It feels like it's come back to the beginning again, but it's not quite the same. What we do is 3 bars of D, 1 bar of B7, which is barring all the way across 7th fret, and then 3rd finger on the 9 on the 5th string, 2nd finger on the 8 on the 3rd string. 1 bar of G6 that we played earlier. one bar of G minor, which is just this. So it's barring all the way across 3rd fret still. Then 5th fret on the 5th and 4th strings. That's G minor. So I'm just going to play up to there. Then it gets slightly more difficult. We've got an E9 chord. Now E9 is just an extension of an E7, which is an extension of an E. So you could just play an E chord or you could play an E7, but E9 really sounds good for this point in this song. It's definitely an E9 on the record, I think. So in case you don't already know, E9 is this. We flatten 3rd finger over 3 strings, the first 3 strings at 7th fret. 1st finger plays the 6 on the 4th string, and then 2nd finger plays a 7 on the 5th string. And because this is an E, it's a movable shape, but because it's E, we can play the low E if we want, the open. So we've got open, 7, 6, 7, 7, 7. If you haven't played that chord before, that'll take a little bit of practice to get used to that one. It's a really useful shape. And what happens here is, on the actual song, they slide into it. So they slide into it from a fret lower, which would be a E flat 9. So that's just a little touch that you might want to put in there. And then A7, that was for half a bar, A7 for half a bar. And then D for a bar. So I'll just play that whole bridge section from the beginning, from the G6. And from there, we repeat the whole thing we've just played, repeat the whole verse, and then the bridge section or chorus, whatever you want to call it. But when you get to the E9 to A7, instead of just doing that once and then going to a D chord, we do it 3 times. And then play the D chord for 2 bars, and right at the end of the 2nd bar, play a D6. So D. Good ending chord, that one. So I'll just play the bridge sequence again, starting on the G6, the whole bridge sequence, but for the 2nd time in the song. So when you've played the verse, or intro verse, bridge, 2nd verse, this is the 2nd bridge to the end of the song. And over that end section, it goes back to something very similar to the intro. It's not quite the same as the intro, it's a bit shorter, but it's a similar sort of riff. Remember to check out the video on the intro, I'll put a link in the description for that. And the little sliding thing on the E9, when you do the repeat of that sequence, the E9 to A7, you do the slide each time. Just a little bit tricky to get. And at the end there's a kind of a tiny little stop on the D. Something like that. And that's the whole song. So it's the whole chord sequence, some nice chords in there, very kind of 50s sort of sound to some of those chords like the 6s and things like that, and the E9. There's some nice chords. Okay, thanks for watching, and click the like if you like this one, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks. Okay, so this is Jingle Bell Rock with the easy or easier chords. So I'm trying to avoid bar chords in this version, and it works perfectly well. You can play this song without bar chords. So the chords we need for this, we need to start off with a D. You probably know that. Open fourth, and then 2, 3, 2. And the kind of rhythm for this, down, up, down, down, up, down. That would be one bar of 4 beats. Down, up, down, down, up, down. So that's 4 beats. That's a simple way to play it. You can embellish that a bit. So at the beginning of the verse, we play 2 bars of D, but for the second half of the first bar, it sounds quite nice to use a D major 7 instead. That's something that's not that clear on the original recording, but I think it sounds good and it kind of sounds like the song, so they probably are doing this. So we do D, D major 7, which is just flattening your finger over 3 strings at the 2nd fret. Or you could use 3 fingers like that. As long as you've got 2, 2, 2. Then back to D again. So that's the first 2 bars. The next bar is a half bar of D again. Then one called E flat diminished. And what we have to do here is take this D shape, move it back a fret, and then across a string. So you've taken the same shape, back 1 fret, across a string, and then add a little finger onto the first string. So from this string here, we're not using these two. From this string we've got 1, 2, 1, 2. Bit of a strange chord. So we do half a bar of D, half a bar of E flat diminished. Then we need E minor 7. There's lots of different E minor 7s. I think the one which will probably work best here is to play a normal E minor, which you probably know, and add these 2 fingers on the first 2 strings. It's kind of a Wonderwall chord, you might know it from that. So I've got open, 2, 2, open, 3, 3. Half a bar of that, half a bar of A7. So for A7, I take these 2 away, move that finger back a fret. So I've got nothing on this string, I'm not playing that one. Then open, 2, open, 2, open. So that was half a bar of E minor 7, half a bar of A7. I'm just going to play up to that point from the beginning. And then the E minor 7 to A7 repeats twice more. And then we repeat those 2 chords again, but this time they're a whole bar each. E minor 7, A7. And then we repeat the whole of that verse sequence I just played. So D, D major 7, D, D, E flat diminished, E minor 7, A7. But when you get to the E minor 7 and the A7, just like before, you play 2 beats on each, then repeat that, then repeat it again. But this time, instead of then playing those 2 chords for a whole bar each, we play them for half a bar each again. So the best way to really demonstrate that is for me to play the whole of the verse. And I'm sticking to that strum I mentioned, down, up, down, down, up, down. But it can be a bit rigid like that. You might want to sort of loosen it up a bit and add in some extra strums. But that's a good basic starting point for the strum. If you need chord charts and chord shapes for this song, sort of written down, just get in touch and they'll be available. Okay, so that's the whole of the verse sequence, and then there's a bridge, or you could call it a chorus. I think I'd probably call it a bridge in this song. We go to a G6. Now G6 is just a G chord. You may know G like this, possibly this. Well, G6, the simplest way to play G6 is to have these two fingers where you normally would for a G, but not have anything else on. So the other strings are all open. So we've got 3, 2, and then open, 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 open. That's for a bar. So it's... Then we've got a chord called A flat diminished. Well, you may remember in the verse we did E flat diminished there. I won't go into the theory behind these chords today. There's other videos that I've made and that I will make on the theory of diminished chords. But for now, if you just accept the shapes that I'm showing you. So that one is E flat diminished. And if we want an A flat diminished, what we've got to do is move that whole thing along 2 frets. That's an A flat diminished. There are other ways you can play that chord, but for now we'll use that one because it's the shape that we've just used in the verse, just 2 frets along. So I'm not playing the thickest 2 strings, and then I've got 3, 4, 3, 4. So it's G6, A flat diminished. I'll take a little bit of practice that chord. Then there's a bar of D, a bar of D6. D6, just take your 3rd finger away. So the 2nd string is now open. So we've got open 2, open 2. And then we have 2 bars of E7. E7 you probably know, but it's like an E chord without the 3rd finger. So I've got open 2, open 1, open, open. 2 bars of that. Remember that 1 bar is 2 lots of down, up, down, because it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So 2 bars is. Then just a standard A chord, A major, which is, you probably know, which is that. So it's nothing on this string. Open 2, 2, 2, open. And we just do a stop there. You just play it once and stop the strings. That's where you can hear a little sort of little rundown at that point. If you want to play that, it's thickest string, 5, 3, 2, open. So you go. Then we go back to the D chord for 3 bars. Then B7. You might know this one. We have little finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, 3rd finger, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, 2nd finger, 2nd fret on the 5th string, and then your 1st finger is 1st fret on the 4th string. We're not using this string. So we've got 2, 1, 2, open 2. And that's a whole bar. We go to the G6 again, which is that one for a bar. Now we've got a G minor. Now there's different ways of playing G minor. I'm trying to avoid bar chords for this this version of the lesson. So to avoid bar chords, G minor, there's not many options really, but probably the best one is, you know, we did D major 7 like this, or like this, however you play it. Just move that along 1 fret, still 4 strings. That's a G minor. It's a very simple G minor. This string here is kind of optional. You could just play 3 strings. So we've got just those 3, or play the open D as well. Another option, if you can reach it, is to put your 3rd finger on the 4th string at 5th fret. And just play those 4. That one will sound good, but it's getting towards bar chords. I'm trying to avoid those if I can. So for now, I'm going to do that. So that's G minor. So we had G6. G minor. Then we go to one called E9. Now E9 is a variation on E7. You could just play E7, but E9 sounds good. In the first part of this lesson where I was dealing with bar chords, I'll go through the proper shapes for E9 and all of the other chords. This shape here is not quite the best one for the song, but it's easier than the other one. But if you're interested in the other one, have a look at the first part of this lesson. So E9's like this. So I've got second finger on the second fret of the fourth string, first finger, first fret of the third string, fourth finger, third fret of the second string, and third finger, second fret of the first string. So I'm not playing these two. So I've got 2, 1, 3, 2. Now on the actual record, they slide into this chord because it's not that chord. They're doing a shape up there, but you can't really slide into this one very easily, even if you do that. You have to push that one on. It's a little bit awkward, so I'll just play it normally for now. Then to A7, that's not a bad change. These two come away, and then third finger hops across to the second string. That one stays where it was. So it's A7's 5 strings. And then we play bar of D. That's the end of the bridge. So I'm just going to play the whole bridge for you. What happens then is you repeat the whole verse, so everything was just done really, repeat the verse, repeat the bridge section. But at the end, once you get to this E9 to A7, instead of just doing that once, we do it 3 times. On the first bridge we did E9 to A7 once and then went to a D. This time we do it 3 times and then go to a D. And the last D is 2 bars, and there's kind of a bit of an intro thing, a bit like this, which there's another lesson on if you want to learn that. I'll put a link in the description. It sort of goes back to something very similar to that for the ending, and the chords stay on a D for 2 bars, but there's a little bit of a stop. It's a bit vague really, the timing, but it's approximately on the 3rd beat of the 2nd bar. So it's and then there's a D6 to end, so you just take that finger away and go. So I'll just demonstrate those last 2 again. Something like that. So I'll just play the whole of the 2nd bridge for you just to demonstrate that properly. So imagine you've played the first verse and the first bridge, and then you've repeated the verse, the 2nd verse, and now this is the 2nd bridge. Okay, hope that all makes sense. Any questions, please put them in the comments. Remember to check out the intro lead. And if you get on well with this one, the intro lead's on the other video that I'll put a link to. If you get on well with this one, then try going to the beginning of this video and have a go at playing the bar chords. And it sounds quite good with those as well. So yeah, any questions, put them in the comments. Please click like if you like this one, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Okay, thanks.